All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for a Zoom this afternoon with Dani Dennis-Sutton. As always, please raise your hand and I will call on you. We'll start with Greg Pickle.
Hey, Denai, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Hey, just looking at your first game and then preseason camp, when you go back and look at all of that film, where are some of the areas that excite you most?
Throughout camp, I think I've definitely got better with my technique as far as coming off the ball, staying lower and stuff like that. Obviously, gotten stronger and faster throughout camp and throughout the off season. But yeah, I would say that's my biggest growth is my technique on the football field.
Johnny McGonigal.
Yeah, Denai, you obviously have played a big role within this team last season and getting the amount of snaps though that you did week one. I think you were up around 40 snaps defensively. Did that surprise you? Did you know going into the game that you would play that much? And is that the expectation for you moving forward?
I think so. Dion pretty much tells us the week of the game, what around about what the snap is going to be. That's the reason why I like Coach Dion, because he's straight up with us. He tells us what it's going to be. So he didn't give us an exact snap count, but he told me, just be ready because this game I am going to be playing a lot and throughout the season, So he said I've earned the snaps that I'm playing. So, yeah.
Rich Garcella.
Morning, Denai, or good afternoon, Denai. Denai, where do you think the defensive line has to get better after last Saturday?
I think everywhere. I think we hustled. I think we played hard, but I think there were it was like a sloppy game for the D-line. We didn't get, a lot of pressures. We didn't get many TFLs. I know Adisa got one or two TFLs maybe and Chop did as well, but I would say overall just being in the backfield and pass rush, obviously we have the ability to do that, but I don't think we showed that as much as we should have against West Virginia. So I think those are the two biggest spots.
Daniel Gallen.
Hey, Denai, you mentioned Dion Barnes, kind of preparing you guys for the week. What has he been like since he took over as the defensive line coach, and what has he been like now that you're in season? How do you kind of see him in this role?
I think he's been a great hire. He's been like a big brother to all of us before he was the actual D-line coach, so it's easy for us to take coaching from him. And like I said earlier, he's direct, he's honest, he's not gonna, sugarcoat anything. So it's easier to know what you're doing wrong when a coach isn't sugarcoating it and he's just telling you what it is, as opposed to him trying to, I get like a sugarcoat it is the best way I can put it. But he's been great. And then as far as being in season, he's pretty much been the same. Obviously, practice isn't as long and stuff, but he's pretty much just been the same. He still expect the high standard out of all of us, but I think he's pretty much been the same.
Seth Engel.
Hey, Denai, thanks for doing this. How would you kind of evaluate how you guys stopped the run on Saturday, and what areas of improvement could you guys kind of do to maintain a stronger effort in other games? Thanks.
Yep. I think they had a really good team. Their running back was really tough. He was really good. They got what they got. I don't know the exact yards and stuff that they did have, but as far as like our defense and our D-line, I think we could have made a lot more plays. I think, they did a lot of read options and different stuff to try and slow down me and the other defensive ends as far as trying to, keep our eyes disciplined and stuff like that. So I think this week that's a big thing we're going to practice is keeping our eyes disciplined, because I think Delaware is going to try and do the same thing. But they were a good team. We just got to, make better plays or make more plays per se.
Joe Smeltzer.
Hey, Denai, thanks for the time. Kind of to follow up on Daniel's question from earlier, both Coach Franklin and Coach Barnes have said that Coach Barnes has a very demanding coaching style. Is that something that took a bit of adjusting to? And how would you say that's similar or different than what Coach Scott's style is of coaching the D line?
I would say it's a little bit different, or it took a little bit of time to get adjusted to. But as I said earlier, we all looked at Dion as a big brother, and we all have love for Dion, so it wasn't as hard. If it was a brand new coach that none of us knew, and he came in with a whole new standard, and just the players didn't respect as much, I think it would have been tougher. But everybody respects Dion. He's been this way even when he was a GA, when he wasn't a head coach. He always had a higher standard for us. So I think at first, like I said, it was a little bit of an adjustment, but now it's pretty much everybody keeps each other to that high standard. And as far as Coach Scott, I mean, Coach Scott is a great coach. I'm sure he's doing great with the Lions, but yeah, I don't know. They're just two different people, two different styles of coaches. And also, I didn't play as much last year, so yeah, I just wasn't getting as coached as much as I am now, with obviously more snaps and stuff like that.
Greg Pickle.
Dani, looking back over last year, I don't have my the participation report in front of me, but to your point, certainly played much more in this year's game one compared to last year. How would you say you're different as a player today compared to, this time a year ago?
I would say I'm definitely a lot more comfortable. I think this Purdue game last year, I think I had 3 snaps. Yeah, it was 3 or 4 snaps. I don't remember, but it was something like that. But I would say I'm a lot more comfortable out on the field as far as being able to know my assignments are, being able to know what the plays are, all those sort of things, and being able to, when I know it's a pass, when I know where the other team is going to run a pass, being able to check into, different stunts and stuff like that on my own instead of having to get it all the time from the sideline, if that makes sense. But I would say, yeah, just being a lot more comfortable out on the field, not being so shocked by the fans and, the big stage that we're on. Those are the biggest things that I can think of, is just me being comfortable up there.
Ryan McGonigal.
Dani, going back to something you said earlier about Dion telling you that, hey, you earned this role and these reps that you were about to get in the West Virginia game. How did you kind of take that, and in terms of that honesty from a coach, where maybe the positive reinforcement that, hey, like I've earned this, and over, especially coming off of preseason, workouts, all that kind of stuff, to kind of have that all pay off in an honest conversation with a coach like that?
It was good. It was good to hear that. All the coaches, Coach Franklin and all the position coaches, every year they sit down with their players and discuss, their roles for the upcoming year. And in that conversation, Dion told me, throughout the camp, throughout spring ball, I was pretty consistent every day as far as doing my job, being able to make plays, all those sort of things. So he was just telling me, keep those things up, and throughout the season, and you'll be getting the reps that you want and be making the plays that you want. So it was great hearing that. So I had a clue and knew exactly what I was going into. This time last year, I didn't really know what my role was going to be, and it was just I preferred to know, and that's what Dion does. So
Daniel Gallen.
Dani, what have you seen out of Chop in his second year in the program? And with him coming in, what have you been able to learn from him, do you feel like, as an older player?
I've learned a lot. Even last year, my freshman year, my first year of college football, Chop took like a big role as far as being a mentor for me on and off the field. So I have a lot of respect for Chop and Adisa. Both of those guys have been leaders. But yeah, this second year, Chop has taken a big step as far as building his body. I think he's up to like 250 or something like that now. We've been lifting together, doing our workouts and stuff like that. So just seeing how intense and intentional he is on all his work now as well. I think he's going to have a great year because of all the work that he has put in and how intentional he is on every little thing he does now.
Seth Engel.
No, it looked like that Michigan game last year was like a big wake-up call for the D-line, especially in stopping the run. How did that game alone, allowing 418 yards on the ground, how did that motivate you guys to continue to improve in stopping the run game?
I mean, Michigan was a really good team. Obviously, they were in the playoffs last year, but I think the the message that we got from that game from Coach Manny and the D line and stuff was just trust each other. I think a lot of times, when we don't trust each other, that's when things can get out of whack. As far as if a D line is poking his head in the wrong gap, and that's supposed to be the linebacker's gap, and then they end up shooting in the gap you were supposed to be, or just trying to do your own thing. All those sort of things play a role. So I think trust is a big thing that Coach Manny preached last year, and he's preaching again this year. So I think if we stay together, I think we're a tough defense to beat.
Phil Haas.
Yeah, Denai, obviously there's a lot of talent at the position. I know you talked a little bit about Chop and Adisa already, but what have you been able to learn from those two over the offseason, or something that you've been able to take away from their game?
We've been competing. We competed since winter workouts, all three of us. In every drill, we were always together, no matter if it was in the weight room or if it was, like I said, winter workouts out in Haluba. Throughout the summer, we were competing against each other, and then through training camp. So it's all making us better. I think the competition has elevated each of our games. And then, right there with us is Amin and Zariah, all those guys, they were there too. So I think the whole defensive end room, but the whole D-line room in general has increased its level of competition, and I think it's all going to make us better.
Time for two more. Joe Smeltzer.
Yeah, Denai, you just alluded to Zariah. We were talking with Olu last week, and Zariah is a guy that he mentioned as somebody that's impressed him on the D line. So, what have your observations of him, and what are some things that you're expecting to see out of him this season at the defensive end position?
I expect big things throughout the camp. Zariah has been, doing what he's supposed to do. He's been making plays. And he's hungry too. He missed last year. So this upcoming season, he's not taking anything for granted. He's out there every practice with a smile on his face, happy to be out there. And that stuff is contagious as well, So I think he's becoming a leader in the D-line room as well. But I think, like I said, on the field, he's going to have a great year. I think if he keeps doing what he's doing or what he has been doing throughout camp and throughout, spring ball, he's going to be fine. I think he's going to help us a lot this year.
Final question, Daniel Gallen.
Denai, we saw Jamil Lyons on the field at the very end of the game, and he seems like someone that is going to get to play as a true freshman. What has he done to put himself in this position to play, and what would be your scouting report a little bit of Jamil at this point?
I would say Jamil is sort of similar to me as far as last year, just the mentality of trying to get on the field and being hungry. I love Jamil. He's been like a brother to me since he's got here this past summer. And he's willing to work. He's not a guy who's always some young guys when they first get in, they're negative because they're not getting on the field right away. Jamil takes that to heart. So in practice, the next day when we had a little scrimmage on Sunday, he was out there making every play. So he took that motivation and put it out on the field, which is, as me as a player that is playing, I love to see that. But yeah, I think Jamil has been great throughout camp. He can pass rush his behind off. He's getting to the quarterback, every time. None of our tackles can block him that he's been going against. So I think he's going to be great. I think we're going to need him this upcoming season. And I think he's going to have a great career here.